Wait. Okay, now we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Royal Manhood TV. I am Elliot Nelson. You see my co-host at the bottom, Ashton Ross, also known as Ash Money, also known as Lights Please ___. We got John Harper. He is also in the building tonight. Well, not the building, the video chat. Nehemiah the Poet is his ad name, a.k.a. The Truth God. No,
slap yourself.
BJ Case will be on the way shortly. What you're hearing now, hopefully you can hear it, is Complexion by Kendrick Lamar featuring Rhapsody. We're going to get started underway as I cut the music off. Complexion is the topic tonight. We will discuss that momentarily, but first we got some housekeeping things to take care of. So let's talk about this Waka Flocka running for president type of deal going on.
Waka 2016, baby. Waka 2016. I'm here for.
Is this really a thing?
Nah, man. That dude's 28. He can't even run.
Right. I was about to say he don't even qualify. Like.
Yeah.
That is funny.
He can't even.
I saw a bunch of hashtags like Flocka for president, and I was like, yo, like y'all serious about this thing? I kind of ignored it for like a couple of days, but it kept going.
I'm here for it, man. I'm here for
it. If Waka became president, what would be the first thing you think he would do?
Legalize weed. Yeah, that's without. I think he said that himself.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, without a doubt, I'm pretty. He's
good.
Waka for president would be some. I wonder how he would act with the whole riots, and we'll talk about the riots momentarily, but. I wonder how he would act with the whole police brutality, the riots going on. Like, will bro be flipping stuff in the White House?
I don't know, man, because he seems kind of disconnected from what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I don't, and it's a lot of rappers that are out here. Now somebody was going in on Twitter earlier talking about, oh, J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar, you can rap about it, but you can't do anything about it. When everything was going on in Ferguson, those guys was in the streets.
Right.
They was in the streets. I wouldn't speak too soon. Cole and Kendrick and a couple others. I hate to admit it, but Macklemore, they was in the streets. You know what I'm saying? So, I wouldn't say that, but your Kanye's and your Jay-Z's and if you want to criticize somebody, and I think Waka would kind of fall into that. I don't think he would be too vocal. I just think he'd be like, man, y'all need to chill out, smoke a blunt, something like that.
John, what do you think, man?
No comment. It's just pure ignorance with Waka Flocka. Period. Just no comment. I can't.
But I mean, a lot of people debate the fact that President Obama didn't really do much for the African American culture. So
how was he supposed to? Okay. Let's break this down. Since I got my BA in political science, shout out to me, by the way, graduate May 2015, MA in educational leadership. What was he supposed to do? What president has done the most or has addressed the race issue? A lot of people bring up, well, Clinton. It's like, no. Clinton addressed socioeconomic issues that affected poor whites and just so happened to affect African Americans with welfare programs and things of that nature. Let's go FDR and civil rights. FDR really didn't do anything. He said, look, I'm not really going to address this issue, but I'm not for racism. JFK and LBJ. They did a lot. However, that was more about getting more votes for the Democratic Party than it was actual race relations. Then we go all the way back. Let's go to Lincoln. Read Lincoln's writings. He said, look, I believe these people should be free. By no means do I think they are equal to us as white folks, I think they should go to Mexico or go back to Africa. But it's definitely wrong to enslave them. There you have it. So no president has addressed the quote unquote black agenda and black. I mean, like how could you? Like legitimately, what could you do?
I see your point. So Walker couldn't step in there and be like, I think Walker was so ratchet though. I think he'll be using a bunch of N words and
exactly. The man would have no, like, it would just be political, just trash coming out of his mouth. He would just start talking, and they would have to censor every single thing this man says. And let's be real, what politician would take this man seriously? Okay, first of all, that man couldn't get 10% of the United States vote. If he were, he couldn't get 10. He couldn't get.
The hood would come out and vote for Walker, yo.
No, they wouldn't, because they can't.
The hood would vote.
No, they wouldn't.
They would. They'll probably vote for him while they're high, maybe.
Elliot, what is the percentage of African Americans that make up this country?
Yeah, it's very few. Like I think it's like.
How many of them can actually vote? Find that number out and then come back to me. The hood could not get Walker.
13. The country.
Okay,
and then
what you say?
Of that 13 is not that many that vote. So
they'll find their way to vote though.
Walker could not get 10. Why are we talking about Walker Flocka for president? Move on.
Move on.
I had to pass some time, man. Shout out to everybody that's viewing right now, man. Royal Manhood TV, excuse me. RMTV, we're live. Thank you to the 5 viewers that are on right now. Tell your friends, ladies, if you're watching and you got a boo, tell your mans to get on right now. If you got
tell him get his weight up.
If you got a husband, tell your husband to come out right now to the laptop, to whatever you're watching this at, because you shouldn't be watching this alone. Like, this is a man's show. You need to be watching it. If you got a babe, you need to be watching it with him as we discuss this topic, complexion, later on. Right now, we're gonna talk about some sports. So, ladies, hang on with us just for a few more moments. The playoffs are on. Houston Rockets might close tonight, might not. Ashton obviously is saying the Rockets. Obviously, he's a Rockets fan. So, James Harden gonna be cooking tonight. Yes or no?
All I got to say, you see the shirt. You see the shirt. That's all I got to say. Say about it, baby. Please believe Sunday night was a fluke. Please believe Mark Cuban paid off the Rockets. Please believe it is closing out tonight. He couldn't take that hit to his pride to see Dallas get swept. But that's all right. I'll give him that. I'll give him that.
John, who you pulling for in the playoffs, man?
I cheer for 2 teams. One of them's not in the playoffs, and anybody that plays against LeBron James.
Well, it looks like LeBron is actually.
Look, I'm gonna tell you how bad it was. I sat here 2 nights ago and I couldn't believe what I was saying. I was like, did I just say go Celtics? I almost wanted to slap my face. Shout out to my man J.R. Smith for the vicious female backhand.
Bruh, that thing. What's
wrong with that dude?
Yeah.
We just got a text message from a viewer. They said they can't see you, Elliot.
Get out of here, man.
I'm not lying. You know who it's from.
But see, that just messed me up. See, we talking about complexion, and this person want to talk to me via text message that didn't send to me. So therefore, whoever that was, you can sit your tail all the way over there and keep watching us. How about that? Do watch me and watch the show. That's what I mean to say. So the Chicago Bulls look like they're falling apart right now. Do they go to Milwaukee and win?
I don't know, man. I think you got to give Jason Kidd props. I mean, Michael Carter Williams is an underrated point guard in this league. I never paid much attention to they call the Greek Freak. That man putting in work. I think next year they get a couple more bodies. The Bucks should be a team to watch out for.
No doubt. I'm trying to hold BJ is somewhere. He's somewhere being late. He said he's gonna be 10 minutes late. It's 8:10. Um, I'm
Let's get into Baltimore then.
Baltimore Riots. My heart, man. These I wouldn't say these people because they're obviously angry. And I can't really blame them for their anger. But what's your views on the Baltimore riots, man? Is it warranted? Is it not warranted? Um, does somehow our anger just kind of go out of control and turns out and produces this type of ordeal?
I'm gonna put it like this, man. You know, I'm a man of God. I'm Christ centered, but when you back people into a corner, history will show you that when you back people into a corner, if they are strong and if they are resilient at their core, they're gonna swing back. You know what I'm saying? So it's not to me it's not far fetched that these first Baltimore uprisings, and like people in Baltimore are saying, you have to understand the Baltimore culture. See, I'm from Houston. I'm from a large city, a metropolitan city. You know, there's a lot of opportunity here in Houston. Yeah, we have our slums, we have our ghettos, but Baltimore is another Detroit. It's another, you know, it's another one of those places that the government has abandoned. It's another one of those places that, you know, just luckily Houston is an oil hub. You know what I'm saying? And there's, you know, we're a ship channel or whatever, but it could be Houston.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it could be it could be anywhere. That's why when the Ferguson thing happened, Ferguson is everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So it could easily be my city. It could easily be your city. The people in Baltimore, man, they're underprivileged, they're undereducated, and this isn't to demean them. These are the facts. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the same privileges. The youth don't have the same privileges. The youth don't have opportunities. They cut jobs, they cut education, they cut everything out of these people's grasp. And then when you do something like this, man, I mean, this is nothing new. You know what I'm saying? If we want to just go back 20, 30 years, you know, 15 years, whatever, and we think about Spike Lee and Do the Right Thing, and they kill Radio Raheem, what happened there? You know what I'm saying? That was a mirror of what really goes on. You know, when we talk about the Watts riots, when we talk about, you know, the Chicago, I mean, this has happened. And
Right.
yeah, okay, they're burning down their community, whatever. But if somebody had already done it,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So my thing is the anger and frustration is warranted. You know, there are some people who are involved in this, whether Jesus would, you know, you flex his muscle and say it was like he did in the Bible or whatever, whether this or that. You know, I don't want to get into that. I don't want to have an opinion. Maybe I won't. Probably I won't. But one thing I will say is, as a black man in this country, there's only so much that you can take.
Yeah.
And when it's blatant, when there's blatant discrepancies, when there's blatant inequalities in another race, in the way that law enforcement handles those races, and you put it like a Ferguson, like a Baltimore, like a, you know what I'm saying, a place like a Watts, California, or something of that nature, man, you know, people have to do something. They have to stand up and say something. You know, and people make good points all day long on Twitter about how America is all for the protests. They're all for people standing up. They're all for overthrowing governments overseas. But here, you know, don't you dare come against the great American flag. You know, so
Right.
I don't know, man. I just my whole thing is, number one, I'm praying for salvation for the people of Baltimore. And number two, I'm praying for safety for the people of Baltimore, because I have followers out there. You know what I'm saying? I don't have family, but you know, my Twitter family, I got people out there. You know, so I don't want to see anybody getting hurt. You know, that I know personally, or anybody. Period. And that goes for cops and that goes for civilians, because just because you wear a blue badge doesn't make you it doesn't make you not a human. You know what I'm saying? So.
Great stuff.
My
John,
take on it, man.
Definitely agree with Ash. I got a lot of family out on the East Coast. I got a lot of friends out on the East Coast at Howard, you know, and especially at Morgan State. And some of the things that they've been telling me is that's disgusting, but we all know how it goes, is the media's portrayal of everything that's going on. You know, they focused on these quote-unquote riots in West Baltimore, but what they weren't focusing on is people marching on the Capitol. Peaceful protests. You know, you got celebrities like Ray Lewis, Will Smith, some of these guys that are standing up, you know, encouraging people to go back. My biggest thing when everything broke was similar to what Ash said, you know, God, keep my friends and family safe, you know, make sure husbands get home to their wives, children get back to their families, you know, make sure that law enforcement does not get hurt. Is our system corrupt? Yeah, but when you're dealing with a corrupt system, of course you're going to have injustices. Now, I'm not advocating violence by any means, but as an African American male, for me personally, myself, it's very hard not to be somewhat angry and somewhat upset at everything that's going on in the city of Baltimore, in Ferguson, Missouri, places in the South, places up in Minnesota. Like up here in Minnesota, they're prosecuting peaceful protesters that were protesting. Yes, like I'm talking like these people are currently in jail, and the ones that made bail, they have a lawsuit coming their way because they protested at the Mall of America. Didn't cause any property damage, didn't burn nothing down. So if a peaceful protest can bring prosecution out there in Baltimore, I'm praying. It's like, okay, God, what's going to happen to some of these people that these officers catch? Because the law has already proven that they really don't care about life. All life is precious. That's something people need to wake up and realize. Absolutely, Black Lives Matter, without question. But all lives at some point in time do matter. It's sad that law enforcement is doing this to our young black males and young black females, and it's sad that the entire world does not see the injustices that are going on in our country. And that's why I'm a firm believer in prayer. You know, prayer changes things. The prayers of the righteous availeth much. And it's hard, you know, it's hard not to want to get out there and march with them. Now, as far as people burning stuff down and looting, I'm not with that. Because then you got the very small few ignorant people taking away from the peaceful protesters, from the people that are out there trying to raise awareness about the social and economical injustices that are going on all over and across this country. That's why I've always been a big advocate for Malcolm X's The Ballot or the Bullet. You want to see some change? You got to get our people into office. You got to get our people elected. We got to go out there and do this the way that they don't expect us to do it. You know, you turn on television, like they're calling us animals, and it's like, oh, they had to cancel baseball games, and this had to get canceled, this had to get canceled. Who cares about what had to get canceled when people are losing their lives in the street by law enforcement? Nobody trying to hear that. I don't really care about a baseball game. If canceling a baseball game means I can bring attention and awareness to people that for so long and so many years have been treated like dirt, like less than dirt, that are dying and not getting due process and justices, Kicks just joined, then yes, cancel sports. Boycott everything if it means that some attention is going to be brought to the horrible and disgusting and hellacious travesties that us as a people have to go to. So my heart goes out to the people of Baltimore. My prayers are with the families and the law enforcement of the people that are doing it.
Good stuff, man. I agree with both of y'all. Kicks, welcome to the show. Everybody who didn't watch the last week's episode, this was basically the co-host from last time, except for Ashton. Ashton's a newcomer, so he'll be here regularly too. So BJ Kicks is now on. You can add him at BJ Kicks on Twitter. So BJ Kicks, we're talking about the Baltimore. I almost said Baltimore Estates. I don't know why I've been talking about Biltmore Estates all week. Maybe that's in my future. Baltimore riots. The Baltimore riots. What's your take?
What's my take on the Baltimore riots?
Yeah.
You know, to be honest with you, I haven't really been able to follow it much. I was listening, you know, every now and then when something big is going on in the media, I like to listen to Fox News radio just to hear what's going on. It's really crazy to me how, you know, everybody has a different version of what happened, what's going on. But one thing that I did notice on social media is that there's a lot of people who are there in Baltimore sharing photos, sharing footage of what looked to be mostly peaceful protests. But what's getting all the attention is the few hundred people out of the thousands there that are rioting, throwing trash cans, doing whatever. So, I mean, I think that kind of talks about that speaks to what we were talking about last week as far as how the media will portray us. So it's unfortunate that, once again, you know, people feel like they're justified in speaking negatively about us as black men, as black people, as young people, based on the actions of a misguided few. So that's unfortunate. I was reading a piece earlier. It was Martin Luther King's opinion on riots and how he was pointing out that the people who were engaged in the riots of his day, it was striking to him that they were targeting property and businesses as opposed to people, which really was just talking about how what they were attacking was the white power structure, how they didn't have animosity toward people, but that was the way they could make their voices heard, and that rings true today. I mean, it shouldn't take 8 people being murdered by police in 3 months, you know, to get some justice. It's crazy to me that people are focused on the riots and the protests, like, oh, they should be inside, as if we're outside, we're in the streets, we're yelling Black Lives Matter for no reason. So that's my take. It's unfortunate that it comes to this all the time and so often. I just hope that out of these riots, out of these protests, out of all the media attention on black bodies in the year 2015, that some positive changes are made. Because the last time something this violent happened, there were a lot of changes made.
Yeah, and to that end, I believe there was beginning to be some criticism about, of course, our President Barack Obama. I didn't get to catch his actual interview today. Well, not his interview, but his statement on everything. But it seems like he was very empathetic to everything that was going on in Baltimore. Stop saying Biltmore, Elliot. In Baltimore. Did any of you guys catch that today or no?
I did. Can't remember his exact quote, but he said, we basically, in so many words, the entire country needs to do some soul searching. The people of Baltimore needs to do some soul searching. Law enforcement as a whole needs to do some soul searching.
All right.
You know, there's times where I wish Barack Obama was allowed to just pull out his black card and just flaunt it for the world, like for times like this. Like, you know, and I don't know, we like to claim Obama because, you know, he's of African descent, but he didn't grow up the way most African Americans do, the way a lot of us did, you know. So it's hard to say whether or not he feels real empathy for us in the way that we might want him to show it.
Right.
But sometimes I just wish he could just, you know, just act a fool on TV. Like, look, y'all stop it, go sit down. Like, just, you know, like, just pull a Dave Chappelle and just get on stage and say whatever, you know? But that can't happen. Only in my dreams.
Did you see his the White House Correspondents' Dinner where he had the anger translator?
I did. I saw that clip.
Oh,
I gotta watch it.
and when he had Key, he had Key up there from Key and Peele. Oh man. Yeah,
No, did y'all see the other lady's joke about the Secret Service? And she was like, they're the only police department that would get in trouble if a black man got shot.
Yeah.
Did you watch? Hold on. Did you watch her whole set?
I didn't. I just saw that part.
Strong Saturday Night Live. Her whole set was ridiculous about the white hair.
She went in. She went in.
Yeah.
I mean, I was sitting there just like, yo, she ain't never get invited back ever.
It was just funny to me how dead the crowd was. I don't know if that's because they just got hit with a truth bomb, or if they were embarrassed. But I mean, because what the president?
Their feelings were hurt. She told the truth.
Right. But
I mean, she had like no filter. She went at everybody.
Man, I'll have to watch it.
All right. So the build-up for the past week or so has been about complexion. Now, we took care of housekeeping, everybody. Shout out to everybody that's watching. You can join in the discussion. Hashtag Royalman. That's a bright light behind me. Join into the hashtag, or join in using the hashtag Royal Manhood TV. We got Ashton Ross, BJ Kicks, also known as Brandon Jackson, John Harper, also known as Nehemiah the Poet, on Twitter, and I'm, of course, Elliot Nelson, the real _ Elliot. You can follow all of us. So we're going to get into complexion. Does it matter? Now, this topic I saved for, I guess, this moment, I guess, for this evening, simply because I saw a post, and everybody talked about this post around Easter Sunday weekend. Now, I don't know why this young lady, and I'm gonna call her out because this is pretty vicious on what she said. Her name is Rashida Strober. She calls herself the dark skin activist. Now, I didn't know that was a thing until moments before the show started when I was going through her Facebook feed. And yes, I went searching through her Facebook feed. I had to. I'm a journalist. Well, not really, but that's not the point. So this is what the post said. Well, would you look at here? Another fake conscious mother effer exposed. I will never support him nor his music with one dime of my money, and encourage all dark-skinned women not to either. Basically, it's a response to Kendrick engaging to his high school sweetheart who happens to be light-skinned. Somehow, in this girl's mind, a conscious rapper means that you have to date and marry a dark-skinned woman. She can't be just black. She had to be dark-skinned. Like, she got to be blacker than anything. Like, that's her motive. What are y'all thoughts on that? And Rashida, I'm gonna have to get in watching this.
Yeah, I looked at that. I saw it because I was a big fan of the Kendrick album, so I was following everything concerning the album, surrounding the album, and I saw the post when it came out. And I looked through her Twitter, I looked through her Facebook, and her plight is that the dark-skinned woman is the epitome, the root of Africanism and Mother Africa and yada yada yada, and the dark-skinned woman is the deepest, purest form of Africana and yada yada yada. Um, as far as her post concerning Kendrick Lamar, I don't know. You know, I'm there's like a level of ignorance that the plateau just keeps getting higher and higher every day. Like you don't think people can get more ignorant than this, you know?
Yeah.
And then like somebody comes and they say something, and you're like, wow, wow, you really pushed that ignorance envelope. Like you took it to the next level. Kendrick was engaged to the young lady, or was dating the young lady, or involved with the young lady long before he became famous. This was his high school sweetheart. You know, this was somebody who he had been down with, you know, had and he just so happened to engage with the young lady. A black man that's famous marrying a black woman, that's rare within itself.
Yeah.
So for her to come up and say, "Oh well, it got to be a dark skinned woman, and if it's not a dark skinned woman, then he's fake because whatever." It's like does she feel that women who aren't dark skinned, women that are brown skinned, light skinned, fair skinned, whatever, does she feel that they're not black? Does she feel that they're not pure, or what? Because I can understand taking up for dark women because dark skinned women are oppressed within our culture. Dark skinned people are oppressed within our culture
Right.
due to colorism. But when you take up for one, it's not to stand on the necks of the others. You know what I'm saying? All shades of brown are beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's and for black people, it's not even brown because there's black people out there that are yellow, red, and all kind of stuff. So all tones of black, all 50 shades of black are beautiful. You know what I'm saying? My black is beautiful. Dark black is beautiful. Super fair light skin is beautiful. It's all beautiful because we're beautiful people based on our heart and our culture, not the tone of our skin.
Right.
And I would really like to see if she is protesting or if she has anything to say about the Baltimore riots, because I feel like she would be the hugest hypocrite because every day she puts down light-skinned women. You know what I'm saying? So she judges people based off the color of their skin. So I feel like she can't say anything about racism, about bigotry, about white America and white privilege or anything like that because she does the same exact thing that white people do. So or racist white people do. So
And to be honest, as a dark skinned brother, I'm offended. Since when did you become the dark skinned activist? I'm offended. Do not represent dark skinned people and then do some stupid stuff like that. That's why we got all these stigmas on people now. Because of you, Rashida. Like, yes, I'm name dropping like Kendrick. You. Anyway, John, BJ, whoever's next. If you got something to say about it.
Um, I didn't see her comments, but it's unfortunate that that's her point of view and that's the perspective she comes from. Um, and the reality is she's a victim, um, much like all of us are. So she's just expressing something's happened to her to where she feels like she has to take up. If she's a dark-skinned woman, she has to take up for herself and stick up for all her dark-skinned sisters because they're all not getting the shine they need. But to police someone else's relationship, I've never met Kendrick before. I've never met his girlfriend before, his fiance. Um, if I just happened to get famous and then somebody decided they wanted to rag on me or be upset at me because of who I chose to marry, quite frankly, that's none of anyone else's business. That's not my business who Kendrick's with. Nobody's complaining about what groupies any other rapper is with. So the fact that this man decided to get married, one, like who gets married at that age, at this level of stardom,
Thank you.
So to say, oh no, you married a light skinned girl, what's wrong with you? Like, come on, that's ignorance. But it's all a symptom of the same things we've been taught from forever. So I can't even be mad at her. Can't even be mad at her.
Expounding on what Kix just said, it's that model of divide and conquer, and we've all seen it, we've all experienced it, and probably, in times past, we've all probably taken part of it, whether knowingly or unknowingly. I'd love to have a conversation with her, because my first thought was, okay, what happened in your life that made you take this position? Like, did you pick up and read something? Did you witness something? Because nobody just gets to that strong of a stance where you are just so far against people that are lighter than you without something happening. It just doesn't happen. And then I'd ask some personal questions like, okay, like, do you believe in God? Because if you do, if you get to heaven, you're going to be shocked at all these people of different backgrounds and different shades that's going to be there with you. It ain't just one, it ain't just one color, baby. It ain't. Like, there's going to be a lot of us. Like, for me, for example, because I can only talk about me, my wife happens to be the same skin complexion as me. Okay. But her complexion really didn't play a part in whether or not I was going to be drawn to her. So for her to take such a strong stance without really backing it up, I mean, like, really backing it up. She has no scientific evidence. She definitely has no Bible to back it up. None whatsoever. Against women that have, lighter skin or fair skin or even my skin complexion, it just has me concerned as a young African American male that there's people still within our community that are willing to attack somebody, not based on, necessarily on their views, but because they're a different shade tone than you. I mean, like, as I was talking to Kix, you missed it. I was talking to Ash and Elliot earlier. I said, let's break this down. She is so mad and upset at somebody that she has never met, somebody that she doesn't know, because he is choosing to be with somebody that is not her skin complexion. Like, I'm sorry, that's jacked up. Whatever that man wants to do, regardless of skin tone, that's his business. Ain't nobody else's business, and it's really not that big of a deal. But we're talking about complexion, so we're gonna get into that.
To piggyback on Kick's point about something happened to her, she did post this post, like, I guess, moments after the Kendra post that said, "Amazed how people get pissed when I say what I say, but expect me to accept being called gorilla, black and ugly, monkey mouth, burnt, crunchy black." I heard crunchy black before. That one stunk. I've heard that one before. Well, and then she said, "Well, if you're mad, hell, confront yourself, because I'm in the business of exposing all dark skinned haters." Now, before anybody gets started, okay, I've been dark skinned all my life. Okay.
She getting a paycheck? I just want to know if she getting a paycheck since she in the business. Because if she getting paid to do what she do, let me find out.
I've heard all the jokes, and some funny, some not, because I get tired of them already. But I don't believe that anybody that jokes on my skin complexion is a hater. I just look at them as, well, some of my brothers who do it, I just be like, man, y'all wild. But if anybody who don't really know me like that does it, then me and you gonna have to have a talk, cause like, that's just not cool. And I don't talk about your skin complexion or your pigmentation or anything like that. But I don't see where the dark skin haters come from. Like, who is actually the haters of dark skinned people? And so that's probably going to segue into the whole complexion theme for the show. My first question is complexion a matter of preference, or are we just making the most of it?
You repeat that?
Is complexion a matter of preference, or do we make the most of it?
Ooh.
Anybody want?
I may kind of, I don't know, I may kind of just like void the whole show, but complexion would have to be the dumbest thing that you could have a preference for. I could maybe see a weight preference, like I don't want to date a 600-pound woman. I could maybe see like a height, like I don't want to date, if I'm 6'3", I don't want to date a midget, maybe. But like literally the color of their skin, especially within the black culture, me as a black man saying I only want to date light skinned women, or I only want to date dark skinned women or brown skinned women. I I think that has to be the dumbest thing, because women are women. Like, not to be explicit, but the Kendrick song says it all feels the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're all women. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
the color of their skin, what would make the color of their skin, and what we have conditioned what we've been conditioned to believe, um, about what making the color of one skin more beautiful than the color of another's, is something that has to do with deep African history and African American history and race relations in this culture. Colorism. We didn't learn colorism, or we didn't. We weren't born. African people weren't born. When we're talking about the African people, they didn't. They never knew colorism. They got colorism embedded and instilled in them through the horrors of slavery. So, now that carries over into a preference for a skin tone. And I think we make so much out of it, you know what I'm saying, when it really, it's just like, hey, if the woman is down for you and whatever, like you gonna really be sitting on the side of the bed like, ah man, but I just wish she was light skinned though. Like, what? I don't know. So that's just my take on it.
Anybody got next? Your floor.
Okay, well, I mean, I can't knock anybody for their preferences. Hey, somebody may prefer light-skinned women over dark-skinned women, or I don't know, whatever shade in between. I think it's kind of crazy to say light-skinned versus dark-skinned because there's so many different shades. But I don't see that as necessarily an issue. That's someone else's personal preference. Because I mean, obviously, as whichever woman isn't being looked at by that person, it's not like you just want to, like, you're not going to want to be with that person anyway. Like, if they're shallow enough to not give you the time of day because of what you look like, as opposed to something stupid that you said or something you were wearing or whatever, that kind of says all that you need to know about whoever that person is. I mean, back when I was dating, I went through a whole range of women. I did never really deal with white women, though. That really didn't have anything to do with the color of their skin, more so than it did just our upbringing. I felt like we came from different backgrounds, and backgrounds that were too different for us to really relate on on an intimate level like that. But I have some white friends now, so maybe if I was still dating, that'd be something I'd be a little bit more open to. But my fear would be moments like this, where the world is split down the middle, and you gotta either you're for OJ being guilty or you're for him getting off,
Right.
and we're gonna be on opposite sides, and that's gonna be real awkward at the dinner table,
Yeah.
But I mean, no, I mean, colorism's a real thing, and that's been passed down to us from generations, I keep thinking of the Jay-Z lyric, all the wavy light-skinned girls is loving me now. There's a certain boost of self-esteem that comes, at least when I was younger, from whoever the it person is giving you attention. And you know, more often than not, that it person is a light-skinned girl. Whether that's because that's who we're seeing in music videos, or their hair is, you know, exotic, or whatever the case may be. There, I mean, you know, there's a certain appeal, and it's not necessarily because they're better people. They just get packaged a little bit better. You know, the light-skinned lady with the little curly fro is who gets to be on TV. You know, someone who may look like my wife may not be on the shampoo commercial. So maybe I'm being programmed to think my wife doesn't look as good because nobody's paying as much attention to her. And, you know, especially as men, we want the rarest find. We want what no one else is going to have. We want what everybody else will envy. And to that extent, I can't act like light-skinned girls aren't on this pedestal, you know. But as far as my personal preference, there's so much more to a person, you know. We can't hold a decent conversation. I don't care what you look like. You know, if you're going to be out at the club all the time, you're going to be drunk all the time, you know, we don't have enough in common to have an intimate relationship like that. But yeah, I do think, you know, it's a matter of preference. If you want to be with a light-skinned girl and y'all want to be together just on the basis of y'all's looks, I mean, good luck with your relationship, but that's your right. I'm not, you know,
Sure.
police. I don't care. So that's my 2 cents.
John, what you got for me, man?
I'm about to get a little, I'm not going to say standoffish, but I'm going to interact with some of the things that are going on Twitter. Shout out to all of our Twitter followers. Shout out to Jeremy R. Moore, More to Life Photography. He asked a question with the hashtag Royal Manhood TV. He said, but what if you are drawn to a particular complexion subconsciously? And I'm going to go ahead and hit that one.
I was going to get it. I was going to get it.
You was going to get it? Okay.
Get it, but take it over, John.
Everybody.
Take it over. Take it over.
I was just going to get it because I can speak to that. I can personally speak to that.
Yeah,
I know
John tried to call me out last night. He tried to call me out yesterday because I posted a pic that looked like all the girls looked the same, and they didn't look the same. I can't help. Essence Magazine.
Post that pic from Instagram, and I bet you all of our female followers and people that are watching, shout out to all the lovely ladies, all the 50 Shades of Black watching us right now. Ladies, tell Elliot, tweet at the real Elliot. Tweet that man and tell him to post that picture and see if I was right. Moving on, like I was saying, subconsciously.
They all look the same, bro. They do. I can't. They look the same.
Thank you, Kick. Thank you, Kick.
No, because I took my time with this photo. I had to make sure that they were light skinned, dark skinned. I can't help to think like a man crew.
Your subconscious showed, and I told you that. Your subconscious showed.
I can't help Essence Magazine made them look all the same. That's the editing. That's not my fault.
Your subconscious showed. Your subconscious showed. Growing up as a young man, I was around diversity like pretty much all my life. Like white people, Hispanics, like that's just what I grew up around. So I never grew up with a particular preference. It wasn't actually until I got to high school and even a little bit at North Carolina Central University my freshman year that subconsciously I developed in the back of my mind that no woman and or girl, because I was a young man at the time, so no girl and or woman that was of lighter or fairer skin would like me or necessarily would find me attractive. Now, I'm not, ladies, pay attention to what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying that's what my subconscious had developed due to interactions, crazy things happening, and just overall personal experiences. So subconsciously, in my mind, it was like, okay, if she's dark skin or on the darker side of things, or she's my skin complexion, or maybe just a little bit lighter than me, I got a shot. But anybody who is fair skin or light skin, they find me ugly and they're going to be rude, they're going to be mean, they're going to be stuck up and snobbish. That is what my subconscious developed, especially living in Minnesota, where it was like if you were a light-skinned girl, you really didn't talk to dudes like me. Now that I'm older, I realized that maybe it was them just being shallow, or 9 times out of 10, it could have just been my personality. We didn't vibe well. Skin complexion didn't have nothing to do with it. Similar to what Kit says, I'm not going to degrade somebody for their preference. Now, I will say this, though. If you are judging somebody solely based off of their skin complexion, then, brother, man, I'm going to help you. Ladies, I'm not going to talk to you, but, bruh, man, you and me got some talking to do. Because you can't judge all people based on certain experiences. Like I said earlier in the show, my wife just happens to be my same skin complexion. However, that didn't stop me from being attracted to people who were lighter than her, darker than my wife, you know, and women of different races. What I found myself attracted to was personality, stimulating conversation, just not conversation. Not just conversation, stimulating conversation. Like, there's only so much we can talk about when it comes to fashion and sports. Like, I want to know you. I want to know what's going on up here. I want to know what's going on in here. So stimulating conversations, smile, eyes, all the intangibles, and if she loved God. Those were the things that attracted me to a woman, regardless of skin tone, above all else. So subconsciously, yeah, I developed something nasty and something poor. But that ultimately wasn't my determining factor for marrying who I married. I'm not going to downgrade somebody because they have a certain preference. But if that's what you are leading with, then we got a problem. Because you can't discriminate a woman based on her skin color and group her into a type of woman or a type of group that you've dealt with over the course of your life and say, well, I got mistreated by 5 dark-skinned girls, so all dark-skinned girls must be bad. Subconsciously, I think that happens to everybody. And the media, as we've all said, does not help. TV commercials do not help. Even the things we watch in movies, none of that helps. You can't group people together just based on past or personal experiences. You know, maybe you just are attracted to a type of personality, and just so happens that personality happens to be the similar shade of certain type of women, but that doesn't mean all women of that shade had that type of personality.
Right. So when it comes to that, because that kind of leads to my next question, the stigmas that are placed on certain complexions, are they a coincidence? And it looks like you already hit that answer. Are they a coincidence or is it actual fact? Because, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've had some experiences with light-skinned women, and they ain't always been positive. But that's not to say that all light-skinned women are that. But there are a lot of guys who feel as though, hey, light-skinned women don't text back. Or light-skinned women are full of themselves or they're stuck up. So do we place these stigmas on them, or do they happen to be fact?
Well, I mean, let's talk about where stereotypes come from, you know? I didn't mean to cut anybody off, but you know, we gotta remember that this isn't new. You know, us fighting over our skin color is not new. I mean, light-skinned people, I guess our first, you know, interactions with the light skin versus dark skin must have come on the plantation. You know, the master rapes the mother. They have a little fair-skinned baby. That baby gets treated just a little bit better because, I mean, that is the master's kid, you know. After a while, all the light-skinned slaves get to stay closer to the house, get better amenities, you know, get better food. You know, they get better scraps than everybody else. You know, we get pieces of bread and y'all get crumbs, you know. Because, I mean, it's not like anybody was getting treated all that well. But, I mean, that type of environment would breed hostility one against the other anyway. You know, then enter motion pictures, where the first major motion picture, you know, full length, is The Birth of a Nation, was literally about Klansmen, like, all protecting the nice lily white lady from the black brute, you know. I mean, those types of things will, one, make you feel a certain way about the other side, but even more damaging is how they'll make you feel about yourself. You know, so self-hate is real. That's not something that came out of nowhere. We're not like, oh, we like light-skinned women because they're light-skinned. That's self-esteem issues. That's I don't know who I am issues, you know? So I can't lie. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, let's think about it. If I'm light skinned and people treat me a certain way because I'm light skinned, if all these I'm a light skinned girl and all these guys have me on a pedestal, they're all fighting over me. I mean, have you got? I mean, y'all went to a black school. I didn't go to a black school,
Neither
but
did I.
go, going to a school like going to visit A&T's campus and seeing how many girls like got hollered at nonstop throughout the day. Like if this girl's sitting on a corner, somebody's gonna speak to them like every 10 minutes, and it's always something stupid. Hey, shawty, what you doing? Where y'all going? Can I come too? Like this is how people talk to them, right?
Yeah.
So now, and I imagine, I mean, I just from what I've seen, the light skinned girls got more attention anyway. So maybe if I'm that last guy, the nice guy that may have said, "Oh, hey, how you doing? My name's Brandon. It's nice to meet you," and she's like, "Whatever." Maybe I do think she's stuck up because she had to deal with 80 more people than the girl next to her coming up to her, you know. So I think all stereotypes are rooted in a little bit of truth, even if it is misguided and taken way out of context, which is unfortunate. But it comes from a real place.
Anybody want to piggyback off that?
I think that everything that Kix was saying is absolutely true. We have to realize that, like I said, we were born one with this. And I also want to um, point out that we are not the only race that is intra-racial. You know what I'm saying? That or that has like internal racism, because in the Hispanic community, they have their own stigmas depending upon which country you came from. If you're Ecuadorian, you're like this. If you're Mexican, you're like this. If you're Colombian, you're like this. And so even white people, they're more so about the geographical location or their ethnicity. Italians are this way. The Greeks are this way. Whoever, country Hicks are this way. Scottish are this way. Whatever. So, but as far as we're concerned, our colorism and our, the preferences that we have, they are rooted in our lack of identity as a people. Because when you think about, like Kix was saying, you're here, you're dark skinned, you're of African descent, and because of looking inside the house, you're outside sweating, getting beat, picking cotton, hands blistering, feet blistering, and everybody around you looks the same. Everybody around you has a lesser type of your position. And then you look inside the house, and everybody in the house that's cool, that's able to dress nice, that's not sweating, that's good, is of a different skin complexion. And that skin complexion more so mirrors the skin complexion of your master. See what I'm saying? So so I think it all goes back to, this power structure, and this how white people, it's all about the Eurocentric, type of beauty standards that have been imposed on people. Because here in America, even Hispanic people, even Asian people, not just black people not just black people succumb to Eurocentric beauty standards. You know what I'm saying? Asian women with slanted eyes, Hispanic women with wide hips, and brown skin, black women with dark skin and natural hair. If it's not blue eyes and very pale skin and very slim waist and this and that, your cut and dry average quote unquote white girl beauty standards, anything that varies from that is kind of looked at as, second rate or whatever. So for black men, I think whenever you find yourself preferencing, you know, a particular skin tone, it's either in response to the things that you have been taught subconsciously, because the gentleman said, hey, what if subconsciously I like a certain type of skin tone more, especially if it's light skin. You were conditioned without your knowledge. You were conditioned to believe or to find a particular skin tone more attractive. You know what I'm saying? Even for men who prefer dark skinned women, who have a straight on preference for dark skinned women, there was a conditioning in that. You know what I'm saying? Whether that had been negative, run-ins with light-skinned women, whether that had been somebody preaching to them about dark-skinned women, whether their mother was dark-skinned. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that my mother is red bone, and I know that a lot of times I find that to be my preference. You know what I'm saying? So I think it all has to do with mental conditioning when it comes to having that preference. But I think it becomes toxic when we try to say, I only date this type, and this type is better than that type. And I also think it's toxic when we place those stigmas on light-skinned women. Because I know I done had a couple of light-skinned women that text me back. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't no Denzel. You know what I'm saying? So
that's because you got the juice. You got the juice like that. That's
next topic. Next topic.
His DM's broke. His DM's broke though.
Can I ask a question?
My DM.
Go ahead.
What's up?
I'm gonna ask a question. Do terms like, because I've always and Elliot, you remember what I was like when I first came down to North Carolina Central University for the 1 year I spent down there. I could never understand why there were just, in my opinion, derogatory terms towards describing some of our women. Like, and Ash, I'm not coming at you or anything, but it's like, okay, she red boned, oh, she light skinned, or she chocolate, like, I get that some of them are descriptives and things like that, or she cocoa butter, she caramel, but do we feel that those terms contribute?
Wait, did you say cocoa butter?
I've never heard
What's wrong with the cocoa butter? I'm in love with the cocoa. No, like,
oh man.
I'm being serious. Do we think that terms like that contribute to the status of how our African American men and women treat each other? It's like, man, she got to be a red bone. Know what I'm saying? Like, I just feel that they're, in my opinion, I just feel that they're so derogatory, and I know a lot of people don't feel that way because some of them are just terms, and terms like, oh, she chocolate, she caramel, stuff like that, I think some people think are cool with, but I'm just of the mindset that terms like that are a little bit derogatory and may contribute to the colorism problem. So I was just wondering how y'all felt about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're spot on with that. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, even when you think careful, because, this conditioning thing runs so deep, man. I'm reminded of watching the Malcolm X movie with Denzel, and he had him in the dictionary, and he was looking at the word white, and then he was like, it was like pure and beautiful and bright and this and that, and then he turned in the dictionary, looked up the word black, and it was like dirty and dark and dingy and da 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 da. So when we talk, even when you say the words light skin versus dark skin, you know what I'm saying? There are things that trigger in your mind about light and dark. You know what I'm saying? Even this might seem far fetched, but just being a Christian, you prefer light over darkness. You know what I'm saying? So you never even know how crazy that can translate into your preferences, quote unquote, for skin tone. So that those words and those descriptors, while they are whatever how we see it, they can be triggers. They can be triggers for microaggressions. They can be triggers for oppressive speech. So I absolutely believe that.
I mean, I do feel like Redbone could sound a little. I don't quite know what a Redbone means. Like I know what it is. I don't know where it's from.
Please answer that question. What does that mean? I've been trying to figure it out for the past.
I don't get that's the question. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Help me.
My assumption is that Redbone comes from, because if you hit a light-skinned girl, they would turn red. So maybe they think the bones are red. I don't know. That's
no.
I can get to make it sound rational.
No,
I don't know where.
I'm gonna give you what it is. Since I am a Redbone aficionado. Redbone.
Pause. Ash.
We just had this whole conversation about
we
colors.
We had this whole deep intellectual conversation.
Aficionado.
Are you a connoisseur, sir?
I'm a light-skinned connoisseur. Like what?
Lord Jesus help us.
I'm an aficionado. Redbone would be. Redbone would be. When you look at a Redbone woman, she's black, but there is an undertone, or there's an undertone of any sense, almost like an Indian woman, if that makes any sense. Like when you think about looking at like Pocahontas or something, you know what I'm saying? That's like Redbone. It's a difference between just a regular old light skin. Because see, down here in Texas, it's yellowbone and redbone. That's two different things. Yellowbone is one thing, and redbone is another thing.
Nobody's bones are yellow or red.
well, no, nobody's bones are big either. But we call people big boned all day. So it's just terms. It's terms, man. Oh, I don't call people big bone, but people call people big bone. I don't know who these people are, but
I'm just trying to figure out
with the word big.
I just want to know why everybody clowning at me about my cocoa butter description, but we talking yellow, red, like I just think it's.
But I've heard yellow bone and red bone. Like, I mean, you turn on a rap station for like an hour, you probably hear it 85 different times. What was that little booty? Two red bones kissing in the backseat. Anyway.
Tales of a Ratchet.
The Bootsy reference, though.
But no, I mean, that's real. And that's probably another thing that contributes. If all we listening to is people talk down on us, because I'm not light-skinned, and that used to bother me for a little while. I'm the darkest. I have two brothers and a younger sister. I'm the darkest out of the four of us. Granted, none of us are, I'm not that dark. Like, I met Elliot, and I was like, oh, shoot, I'm playing. But, but no, even still, like, I go outside to play, I come back, it's like, oh, you got so black. Like, that was my reality. Whereas my brothers and sisters didn't really go through that, because they're a couple shades lighter, That affects self-esteem. But if I'm listening to music and all they're saying is red bones, red bones, red bones, I rarely hear anything about dark-skinned women on the radio, on TV, in movies. It's not that we don't find them beautiful. I do anyway. But they don't get represented at all, which leads us all to believe that they're just not they're not all that attractive. If they're not getting any of the spotlight ever, there must be a reason nobody's shining the light on them. But yeah, those terms, that's kind of crazy. Red bone, yellow bone. I don't think caramel and chocolate are bad though.
Yeah, nah.
Those sound sweet.
Brown skin mocha diva.
Whoa! This fool said, nope. Like y'all ain't gonna clown me about cocoa butter, man.
Cocoa butter. That's a new one, man.
Clown me about cocoa.
Cocoa butter, cocoa butter before tonight, though. I had never heard cocoa butter before tonight. That's why it's tripping me out. I ain't never heard nobody describe somebody as cocoa butter. Like maybe cocoa, but not when you threw the butter in there. I was floored, man.
Yeah, that's
We've been having a good conversation, guys. Everybody that's watching, thank you for continuing to watch. This is Royal Manhood TV. We're talking about complexion. This is the time where you can get your questions in because I know a lot of ladies are watching. So if you got any questions for this all-male panel, you can go ahead and get them in. And if you know some guy that needs to be watching, go ahead and tell him to watch it. That's your husband, your cousin, your bae, your boo, however you want to call him. Not saying that you're actually dating your cousin because that's kind of weird, but in and of itself, man, go ahead and ask us some questions. We're gonna go into the next question. So, are we masking something eternally by focusing on just complexion? Are we masking something eternally if we focus on complexion?
I think we kind of
Absolutely.
hit, didn't we?
We did.
Like, we talked about that, yeah.
We talked about that. We talked about it a lot. So,
but I mean, if we want to recap, my opinion, we cover up a lot of. I mean, well, that's with anything though. We like to cast light on all sorts of negative things to draw the attention off ourselves. Whether that's because that's through us watching reality TV and commenting on what the Real Housewives are doing every day, or talking about other people's skin tones. The only reason we're focused so much on what everybody else looks like is we don't like something that's going on inside of us.
That's right. That's right.
Somebody
just
said.
just drop there.
Somebody Nor, I don't know how to pronounce the Twitter name. Nora Oceans. She
Noir. It's a French
Noir.
word. It means
Noir.
Noir.
Pick up a book.
I need to go back to college.
Noir.
I need to go back. That's what I did. Don't compare women to food is what she said. I am niche. She said, does anyone consider red bone or yellow bone having to do with what's the word? Dang it!
Ethnicity.
Ethnicity. Four syllables.
Can we put somebody else in charge of reading statuses off Twitter if you can't read them?
Today's not my day, man. It's been a long day. To do with ethnicities and not skin tone. Does anyone consider red bone or yellow bone having to do with ethnicities and not skin tone?
I never knew what they really meant, so I couldn't tell you that if it was an ethnicity or. But I mean, different ethnicities have different skin tones, so I feel like it could be used interchangeably at times.
Here's another question that came to my mind. So, the complexion debate, the light skin versus dark skin debate that's been happening for a while now. I feel like I think it's a never-ending battle because we're so in tune to it. Does light skin versus dark skin divide us as a race?
Absolutely.
Especially
That's what.
Light skin versus dark skin, that would imply that there's two sides fighting each other.
Yeah. I mean, the whole premise of it was meant to divide us as a race. Slave masters weren't smart enough to know that if you have fair-skinned slaves and dark-skinned slaves, that you should divide them. And then a man named Willie Lynch came along and told him, hey, if you do this, it'll divide them. And they started doing it, and they started fighting amongst each other. So, yeah, it's definitely a tool of division. And it's still a tool of division today. I mean, School Days tackled it, you know what I'm saying? The jigaboos and the mulattoes and whatever. I mean, that's real within our culture, and I know that even as a black man, I know that there have been times where when I'm trying to explain, I'm not all of that, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I'll say, well, I'm not all that, I'm not light skinned, you know what I'm saying? That's my subconscious saying that light skin is the pinnacle, or light skin is what, and that could be from my experiences going through school where, hey, light skin got, go ahead. So somebody was talking.
I think he might have been talking to somebody off camera.
Oh, okay. But yeah, we hear people consider a certain skin tone as the pinnacle of what is good and what is this and what is that. So it's definitely divisive. Absolutely, that's without question.
I'm gonna call her Petty Pendergrass, because that's her Twitter name on Twitter right now. Would y'all still be mad if I called Idris Elba chocolate and Drake butter?
Is Idris Elba he's kind of dark. Like, I guess he could be dark chocolate. Why would you call somebody butter? Like, that's
wait. Hey, run that back. What did she call him?
She said, "Would y'all still be mad if I call Idris Elba chocolate or Drake butter?"
Chocolate and Drake butter?
Yeah.
Yo, that sounds like a threesome. I ain't with that.
Wait, what?
You missed it.
I think she basically asks, is it okay for her to call Idris Elba chocolate and call Drake butter?
I think that's like a reference to the chocolate and caramel debate we were just having. I mean that sounds really weird. If you want to call somebody butter, be my guest, but I mean, I wouldn't want to be referred to as butter if I was that skin tone. That'd be kind of weird. Like, there's butter Tims. Like, I can deal with butter Tims, but butter as a complexion on a person, that's weird.
Yeah, but hey, I never heard of cocoa butter until today. So I mean,
you've never heard of cocoa butter, Elliot?
No, as in calling somebody their complexion.
I was about to say that explains a lot.
You know what, Elliot? I'm tired of you, man. I'm tired of everybody, man.
It's all right, man. It's totally fine. So we still got a few more minutes left. Anybody that's still watching, thank you guys for still tuning in and joining the conversation. This is Royal Manhood TV. You can. We don't have a Twitter yet. That's going to come sooner or later. So don't worry about all that. Just hashtag us, Royal Manhood TV. We'll get your comments. We'll get your questions, ladies. You can ask us questions. It ain't got to be about complexion at this point. If you have some general question you want to ask that needs a male's perspective, you can do that at this time. We got a good 13 minutes left. I got that one right. Got 13 minutes left. So, yeah, go ahead straight away with the questions, man. I'm gonna try to read some comments from it as well.
Hey, Daphne said that she didn't want that question to be answered. She said it was rhetorical about the Drake and butter.
Man, you messing up a lot tonight, Elliot, man.
Look,
Kicks,
look.
I need you to take over as the host.
Look, all comments that are put on the hashtag that I feel are relevant, I'm gonna say it. No holds bar, man. No holds bar.
Juice, you gotta pick a different avatar, sweetheart. It's a lot.
Who?
I don't know. Whoever Juice is.
But this young lady I followed, Juice. I am niche. I'm not gonna police you. You good, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What he said. It's a lot. It's just a lot going on in there.
Right, because I'm trying to scroll through these pictures, the tweets. That's just a distraction. Nobody's looking at your tweets, lady. That's. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to clown.
Shout out to Niche. She went to school with me. She's a homie. She's supporting us tonight. Don't do her like that.
My bad.
Like that.
Just saying.
So here we go. Change the subject. Abby's. Does it mean a thing? No, I'm just playing.
Well, I mean that could go along.
I know.
Hey, I think Abby says a lot about you.
I used to try to take pictures under a certain amount of lights to look a little bit fairer skinned. I wonder if I'm the only.
Ah, good
You know,
point. Good
that's
point.
that's real.
Okay.
Good.
Here's a good question. What advice would you give your daughter or son who may be suffering from low self-esteem because of their complexion?
I have a daughter, and
As do I.
my daughter, she's a little bit lighter than I am. If you guys haven't seen pictures of her, she actually she has a condition called vitiligo. It's the opposite of what Uncle Ruckus has got.
Yeah.
But not so in all seriousness, she just came up to us, me and my wife and I, just the other day, asking why she looked different. That she's got white blotches on her skin around her eyes, and that it almost broke us down. We had to sit and have a conversation afterwards. Um, I feel for anyone who has children who are going through self-esteem issues because they're not tall enough, because they're not athletic enough, because they've got acne, but especially for something like your skin that you can't change. There's nothing that I can do about my daughter's skin complexion. There's nothing that I'll be able to say when some little kid, teases her, tries to call her names or points at her and laughs because she doesn't look like the rest of the kids.
Right.
And that just makes me want to what we have to do is pour into her so that she's not getting her definition of self from other people.
Okay.
We're Christians, so we teach her about who God is and what that means for her, who she is in Christ, what she has inside her as far as the power of God and the spirit that's inside her. These are things that we do to keep self-esteem issues away from our daughter and to shield her from some of the negativity that's around. But especially as kids get older, especially as they get into school, that's a harder and harder thing to tackle. And that's all the advice I can give. My daughter's only 4. That's all I can say is, you have to, because for your kids are going to define who they are, but up until that point, you have to kind of tell them who they are. And if you're not
Right.
telling them you love them enough, you're not telling them they're beautiful enough, they're not going to know. And so whatever someone else tells them is what they're going to believe. So you got to beat those kids to the punch.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have a son or a daughter, but I could tell, I guess, a little bit of my experience. And it's funny now. I'm gonna laugh a lot about it now, but back then it wasn't so funny, simply because, as I said earlier, I used to hear the jokes, the dark skin jokes, a lot from like middle school all the way up through college. But there's some point within middle school and high school where I had a breaking point for those jokes. Like, you get tired of hearing every single day, majority of the time, um, when you're riding home from school. When you're riding home from school, that you look like this person, or you're dark as the tar on the road, or those type of comments start to really eat you up a little bit, and you think something's really wrong with you. So there were times where I would go home and really try to wash this skin off. Like, at one point I felt like maybe I'm not washing properly or something like that, and everybody's gonna laugh at that. But I I really felt as if like my skin complexion wasn't accepted to many people, and maybe there was something under this skin complexion that I had to uncover just to be accepted by people. Um, so I eventually ended up having low self-esteem. Now my parents didn't know about that. They actually just found out about that like a couple years ago after reading a blog of mine where I talked about my low self-esteem, and they were like, I had no idea because I didn't feel like worrying them about my high school issues at the point in time anyway. That's what dudes do. We hide and mask everything a lot. But yeah, I've been in that predicament where you can hear so many jokes and hear so many people talk about you, to the point where you're like, yo, something must be wrong with me if everybody's saying the very same thing. And so I guess my advice would be, um, some very much the same as what BJ. I'm going to call you Kicks because BJ just sounds weird for me to say because I always call you Kicks. I'm gonna to really piggyback on what Kick said because, I mean, in this time that we're in, even back then in high school for me, there's a lot of peer pressure out there. There's a lot of things that are coming at you home. I had to talk to my sister before she went into high school, and I said high school is no joke. It's a jungle. I mean, if you don't know who you are, it'll eat you alive. And so she went in that knowing, and she's pretty confident in herself now because I would say because of that talk, but more importantly, she don't take nothing from nobody anyway. And sometimes I wish I had that very same thing um, that she has now. So I would just like sit down and talk with my son or daughter and tell them that this is what's going to happen. I've been through it before. All you got to do is just dust it off because you are made in God's image. You have an identity in Christ, and that's that. Like nobody can shake you at that point. So yeah,
I would take it a step further because nobody's ever seen Christ. I mean, none of us have.
Right.
We know from what the Bible says it doesn't look like the pictures that we see. You know what I'm saying? So what I would do is, show my kids pictures of prominent black people. Show my kids pictures of people who look like them, who are successful. There's a ballerina who has vitiligo. My daughter takes dance classes, one of those being ballet. So that's someone that I would show her to look up to. I feel like as Christians, a lot of times we miss the mark being so quote unquote spiritually minded.
Yeah.
We don't take the time to see the realism and to see what happens around us and react to that. We understand that, we're spiritual beings having a natural experience, but we are just that, having a natural experience. So we should teach our children, what the spiritual significance of these things are, but also very real and relevant and natural ways to handle the natural problems that come after them, in my
yeah,
opinion.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
let me get in on a little bit. Can y'all hear me?
yeah.
All right, sorry, I'm almost to my job for this meeting. Definitely agree with what the men of God have said tonight. I do have a beautiful 18-month-old daughter who is way on the lighter side than my skin complexion and my wife's skin complexion. I think one of the things that we as men miss sometimes, piggybacking off of what Kick says, but to bring it just a little bit more practical, there is no substitute for a father being in his child's life, whether it be a daughter or a son. A man is one of the most single instrumental things that God has created and put on this earth to be protector, provider, and priest. So for me, as a father, it is my joy, my love, and my passion to make sure that I not only love my child unconditionally as Jesus Christ has loved me, but to make sure that she is consistently reaffirmed in herself, in the way she looks and how she feels. As long
Right.
as I am in this child's life, she's gonna want for nothing, but more importantly, she's gonna have a great knowledge of self and a consistent male figure. So should a dude or a girl come along and try to demean or degrade her, she already knows who she is because her father has told her who she is.
That's real.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't even add nothing to that. That's it.
All right. So, Ash, you got something to say about that or no?
I do absolutely agree with the point that Kix made. Simply because I didn't really have the complexion problem because I've kind of been somewhat happy. I know that might sound sad, but I've kind of been somewhat happy that I'm like right there in the middle. I'm that brown skin, so like I'm not too far light, too far dark or whatever. So, but I did have a weight problem when I was a child. I was the fat kid, so I couldn't laugh too hard at the dark skin jokes because they was gonna turn around and look at me like, boy, like don't you even, like come up with no laughter, So, but with my parents, they did a great job of, balancing the natural and the spiritual when it came to my self-esteem and different things like that. But what did work the best for me was the spiritual, and it was simply my mom telling me they talked about Jesus. And as a kid, you don't really understand the relevance of her saying they talked about Jesus. But when you get older and you understand who Jesus was, and you realize that if they're going to talk about him, they're going to talk about me. That doesn't make me any less great. You know what I'm saying? Because Jesus being spat on and being hit and being abused and being talked about and being ridiculed and mocked and everything else, it takes nothing away from his divinity. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it did work. It did work best, as far as the spiritual thing goes. But I would definitely take heed and deference to what Brandon said, which is showing my child, pictures and real life illustrations of people that are, successful or that are positive in the same light that, they're in. So, I don't have a kid, and I know that one day I will. But I just hope that I'm ready, what I'm saying, for that type of conversation. But that's a tough pill to swallow, I think, as a parent. So just praise God for his grace.
I mean, I don't know you at all. We've had this conversation. It's been a very nice, enlightening conversation. But based on the one conversation I've had, I feel like you will be ready when that time comes. You know what I'm saying? You're on the right track. I wasn't really thinking I was ready to be a father, but, through the grace of God, you move forward, you keep going, and you work it out. You know what I'm saying?
Amen. Amen.
Definitely, man. So we're gonna answer this last question. John just went into a meeting, but he's very faithful God. So he just took us to the meeting.
Yeah. God bless y'all, man. I love y'all. I'll catch y'all next week. Any questions for me directly, just send them to me.
Gotcha, man. So we're gonna answer this question, and then we're gonna close out. From a Christian God's perspective, how much is too much skin to be shown for a young woman?
But that's for another show. That's the topic.
That's what I say. I say that's the topic for another. We'll go another hour for that. I say
that's. Okay, I'm gonna say that for the next show. Shout out to Danny Thinks. We're definitely gonna use that for the next show. So we're gonna wrap up right now, man. Any last comments, questions, concerns?
As a segue into the next show, I'm gonna just say, Juice, the melons got to go. They got to go. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing, man.
Kicks, what about you, man?
That's a lot. Nah, man. Just to anyone out there who might be watching, who may not have taken anything away from this conversation tonight, I want you to know that you're special. That God made you. God made you special. He made you for a reason. If you don't know what that reason is, you don't know why you're here, you don't know why you're watching, you don't know what's going on, I encourage you, what I'm saying, reach out to somebody, reach out to one of us, open up a Bible, but I wouldn't suggest just blindly opening a Bible, you know what I'm saying, but understand that, if you feeling any of these things that we were just talking about, the self-esteem issues, you feeling like you're not good enough, all those answers, they won't come from us, those come from heaven, so yeah, I just wanted to extend that invitation to anyone who may not know or may not have those answers. I don't have all the answers, but I can help you get to where I'm at. We can grow together.
Definitely. That's it. My last comment would be, dudes out there, I'm pretty sure that there's not a lot of y'all watching because y'all not really tweeting like that. But if so,
yes, that's funny how many women watch Royal Manhood. I ain't seen a dude tweet yet.
Yeah,
I saw one. One.
one dude watching. But look, man, to all the ladies that are watching, this is a show for men. Men or a show for men by men. We're addressing some big issues, some big topics that rarely you see actually addressed in some of your, I guess, usual Christian circles. Let's just say that. I know I'm not going down any organization or anything like that. But not even just the Christian topics, but some of the hard topics. Last episode, 2 weeks ago, we talked about racial reconciliation and everything that was going on with Walter Scott and in South Carolina. Today was a complexion episode. Next episode, we're going to talk about the whole young modesty thing. Is modesty is the hottest thing, but also the other topic that I had for the next episode was defending black womanhood, and of course all the women are going to watch that. But I want dudes to watch this one too, because apparently when it comes to defending our women, we fall short there. But the women are quick to defend us. So we're going to talk about that next time, not next week. I know John said next week, but it's bi-weekly show. So May 12th is when we will be back with Royal Manhood. I'm Elliot Nelson.
We're semi-monthly, not bi-weekly.
Huh?
We're semi-monthly.
Semi-monthly.
Month. Bi-weekly would be every other week, but we're the second and fourth.
Second and fourth.
Monthly.
Okay.
We're good to go.
I need to go back to school like tomorrow.
But yeah. I gotta go. I got a wife to attend to. Bless everybody. I'm gonna holler at y'all.
All right, man. We're semi-monthly. BJ Kicks is out. Ashton's about to be out. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you May 12th. The Houston Rockets are looking to close the series. This dude and James Harden, man. The Houston Rockets are looking to close the series, man. May 12th, we're talking how much skin is too much skin and defending black womanhood. I am Elliot Nelson, your host. That's James Harden at the bottom. Peace.
Peace.